Those are brilliant colors. I wanted to start off to place the program into context, and I thought I would just read you a few excerpts. The first one from the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, which established the Experimental World Literacy Program in 1996, and which characterized literacy as being a fundamental human right. It went on to say that these rights are non-negotiable and are aspects of human being that the social contract must respect. And then, of course, I found a little excerpt from one of my favorite critical theorists, Dada, and he says, we need to conceive of critical pedagogy as an act of love, and recommends that the project of democratic education be undertaken only by educators with a commitment to advancing the ideals of freedom and social justice, thus serving as role models for their students to discover their personal power, social transformative potential, and the spirit of hope. And I think those two excerpts pretty much encapsulate the purpose of our gathering here today. Perhaps to bring it even further home and to bring it into more sharper context, I wanted to read a little bit that Maya Angelou had to say about reading in particular. And she says, when I look back, I am so impressed again with the life-giving power of literature. If I were a young person today trying to gain a sense of myself in the world, I would do that again by reading just as I did when I was young. And so I think those three for me kind of encapsulated what it is that we're about to embark on here, what we have already embarked on. And I wanted to set that as a context just to introduce and to welcome our very distinguished guests. Our Professor Sarah Gravett, the Dean of the Faculty of Education, is not here, but wanted to single her out for a very special mention for the genesis of this program and for initiating the partnership with UJ that actually brings our friends from the USA here today. So Professor Sarah Gravett, wherever you are, we salute you for your vision, and also to acknowledge that she has been so dedicated and committed and passionate about teacher development at a systemic level. And today we see the culmination of one of those interventions. And of course, not to forget our Vice Dean, Professor Kurt Luke, who in his absolute loyalty to the Dean supports all of her initiatives. Now this probably sounds like a vote of thanks, but I just need to set this just to acknowledge the people who have contributed towards what we are celebrating here today. And then, of course, our very distinguished friend, comrade in the struggle, our Professor of Practice, Dr. Deborah Jewel Sherman from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. We thank you for making the words of people like Dada come alive and to give substance to it. And of course, for bringing on board our dear friend as well. We'd like to think of you like that. Anybody who shares a kindred spirit. Our dear friend, Nancy Best, and her highly distinguished husband, we thank you for your spirit of philanthropy. You have made it an extraordinary venture. So we are grateful that you have come here. There are others also in the audience that I want to acknowledge. Our newly found friend, Deborah Kyles, who she gave me a very small resume, but very impressive, instructional specialist in career technical education. I know that doesn't do justice to the vast work that you do, but we are very honored to have you here today. And also, we have very distinguished guests from the Department of Education, the Gauteng Department of Education. Mr. Moses Mkonyani from the Gauteng Department of Education must be beaming with joy as every year the statistics for improvement, the pass rates actually start to escalate and show an upward trend. It just is testimony to the important work that he is doing and his vision and the fact that he's so tenacious. He is ably supported by Mr. Elias Makuna, Chief Director's Office, and of course Ms. Sepho Siate, the District Director, and of course each and every one of you here who gives substance to this particular project of advancing literacy in our schools. And significantly, we are here in Soweto, would have been regarded the wastelands you know, because that is what the apartheid script wanted for black South Africans. You know, it questioned the merit of any education, of any aspiration to literacy, to numeracy, and today we stand up to champion the cause to say that we all live in dignity, and these kind of programs, these type of interventions actually is a slap in the face to apartheid and what it actually intended for our people. So I don't want to break out into song and dance, okay, but I'd like to invite to the podium our I was going to say Chancellor, must be prophetic, okay, our Vice Dean, Professor Kurt Luke, who will do an official welcome and will take us through some of the other formalities. Kurt, would you join us? Thank you.
Thank you, Juliet. Ladies and gentlemen, I need not use a microphone. I've got the built-in one. And it was built in by 10 years of principalship. So, thank you very much, Juliet, for welcoming our esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. We also want to recognize the presence of two of our teaching schools that are linked to the University of Johannesburg, which is the only two teaching schools in the country. One urban, and that's Principal Mrs. Rebecca Maboya here, and that's the Funda Ujabule School, which was built and is currently extended by the University of Johannesburg, but supported as a public school by the directorate next to it. And then in the deep rural area of Siabuswa, Mrs. Miriam Nkosi, and learners and representatives that are here, Miriam, you came a long way, and people need to know how long a way you come from Siabuswa. It's quite a difficult road to drive. But we're so thrilled to have you also here today. Ladies and gentlemen, as Juliet has welcomed most of you, or most of our esteemed guests, I just want to say a word of welcome to everybody else, and then we don't miss out on anybody. But I'm not a speech maker. I'm a person that likes to work behind the scenes. And Prof. Sarah just tendered her apologies. She can't be here. She has very important work to do to get some more funding for us to support our school's development, our teacher development, the enhancement of our education. So Nancy, if I may call you Nancy, and the two Deborahs, she actually requested me to present her apologies to all of you, and of course to all of our guests as well. This time of the year, a lot of things goes through one's head, and there's a lot of things happening in the country. And while I was driving here, and I was wondering, because I only realized about an hour ago I'll have to say something. Now, what nonsense am I going to talk this morning? And I decided I'm not going to talk any nonsense or anything from the cuff. I'm going to talk from my heart. Colleagues, I am very involved, and I'm saying it here, in the matric results on various levels. As an advisory consultant, as a statistical analyst, I play an intrinsic role in the standardization or the normalization of matric results every year in the committee in Pretoria. I'm also part of the public announcements, or rather the public presentation, where all the unions are invited by Umalusi. Umalusi means herdsman, and that's actually the Council for General Education Quality Assurance. And only once they declared the results valid and fair can the matric results be revealed. And I have certain restrictions on myself in the position I have, so I never talk in the media. But I want to say something today because I must get it out of my system. Sometimes South Africans are their own worst enemies. Colleagues, we have the most wonderful initiatives in our education, of which what Mrs. Nancy Best and the program is bringing us today, an element and a component of that. We are spending, Chepo and Moss, million rands on interventions. We are analyzing the results, and we take the schools that perform below 60% and below 40%, and we have special interventions with them. They have Saturday schooling, they work hours. And we invest all this, and then our nation says, you cannot improve in your matric results. Now I want to tell our nation that you cannot continue to improve on education and then not recognize that improvement. That is like a snake swallowing itself from its own tail. And success breeds success, and success needs to be celebrated. And we must celebrate our education, because the matric results also epitomizes what we are doing, Mrs. Nkosi and Mrs. Maboya, at the foundation phase of our schools. And we need to celebrate instead of argue. The process is there for everyone to see. It's election year, people want to play politics. They threaten to have a forensic investigation. I challenge them to have that, because I will love it. Because I was part and parcel of every process, and I want to tell you today and carry out this message: our matric results are fair, valid, and nobody manipulated anything. And I just want to tell you a little something secret. Don't quote me. If you look at the roll marks, all the subjects this year, and you benchmark that against the 5-year norm that we calculate, the roll marks has more or less consistently been higher than the 5-year norm, which says that the class of 2013 has benefited. They benefited from the partnerships of the Nancy Bests and the Harvards and the other partners in education of this world in South Africa. We could, when we had the meetings with the moderators and the examiners, immediately pick up from the feedback our learners' language competency, which goes with reading, has improved significantly. They were able to understand the English papers. Writing an exam in your third language, that never happened to me. They could understand it so much better. They could interpret it so much better, and they could respond to it so much better. It needs to be celebrated. We are growing as a nation. We can see how our results are improving. We already saw it in the annual national assessments. And we are going to see it again, because everybody that sits here has a commitment in his or her heart. And if you can, Martin Luther King said, if you can dream it, you can do it. We've been dreaming it for a number of years now. We are now at the doing phase, and we are getting there. And this district, I want to congratulate for continuously improving. Chepo, I was so proud when I looked at the school that were last year the highest jump in performance in Gauteng. And of course, you cannot repeat that every year, but even this year, improved by another 4%, and against last year's 12%. That's absolutely commendable. And we're working hard. And also, let me congratulate Dr. Conley and the Leadership Institute for their initiatives, and also welcome to you, Dr. Conley, the Director of the Leadership Institute. To my colleague Juliet, the HOD of Educational Management and Leadership I've seen here. Colleagues, This is the fruit, Mamsi, of what we are doing in Maruleng at Funda Ujabule, and when we have partners like the Nancy Best Foundation, when we have partners, Deborah, like Harvard, and may we never get rid of you. We will continue to grow, but we can have all these resources, we can have all these inputs. If it doesn't come from us, from our spirit, and uplift our spirit, that we want to fly and soar like eagles. And eagles don't feed on flies, colleagues. So I say to the media, when you argue against improvement in our education system, you are feeding on flies. And that's my message to them. We are a wonderful, wonderful country, and we are privileged to be part and parcel of the growth of our education system. Thank you once again, our esteemed friends, for being here, flying in, flying back. Hell, I hate a flight to the USA. Everything in my body pains because I'm too poor to fly business class, so I sat there at the back toilet, you know, tucked in the corner. Thank you very much, and may you enjoy the afternoon.
I bring greetings to all of you from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I bring those greetings to the distinguished leaders of the district and of UJ, my principal colleagues, and most especially those who I don't get to see as often, the learners. The choir was so beautiful, and you remind me and my colleagues why we come so far. It is a long trip. How many of you have come to Harvard? So you know how long the trip is. But I can assure you that when I see your beautiful faces, it reminds me that it is well worth it. Congratulations on the phenomenal achievement that you have received, that you have achieved in last year and again in this year. I'm not going to get into the politics, but I will tell you that in America, people question when our learners start achieving at high levels. When our learners start reaching the matric results, or in America, it's the Common Core or the standards of learning. When children who are not from affluent homes, or people just don't have high expectations for them, but when they start achieving at high levels, people start questioning, is this right? It can't be right. I will tell you that those people never intended for our children to learn at high levels. But I thank God that I have the privilege of working with each of you, because we don't care what people outside say about our learners. We are defining their destiny. We are determining that they are going to excel in ways that their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents prayed for. There were people who were on their knees during apartheid. There were people on their knees in my country who prayed that I might have the opportunities that I have, that our learners will have the opportunity that you have. And I, from the Harvard Graduate School of Education, pledge to you that as long as God will give us health and strength and money to get back and forth, you will not get rid of me, because I celebrated those matric results. I ran around the Harvard Graduate School of Education showing my paper. Look at what they are doing in Gauteng province. Look at what they have achieved. It's from my heart. You know me, I have my tissue. I just want you to know how proud I am. I also have the honor today of introducing to you part of the pair that have enabled me to come to Johannesburg and to welcome you to Harvard. Two people from Dallas, Texas. It is far from Johannesburg, and it is far from Massachusetts. They are two people who have a foundation, the Randy and Nancy Best Foundation. And their philanthropy, Randy Best is a businessman. He has started over 100 companies in his life. And part of making successful businesses in his heart and in Nancy's is to give back. They give back to faith-based organizations, to organizations serving the welfare of women and children. They give back to civic organizations, and for us, the most important is that they give back for education. Nancy is a teacher. She went to Oklahoma State University. She decided that teaching wasn't for her. She decided instead to be a librarian. And she said when she was a little girl, her aunt was a librarian at a local public library. And that's where she read, and that's where she fell in love with books. And she and Randy recognized the importance of literacy. When I went back to Dallas to tell Randy about the matric results and how wonderful the work was, and I told him we had gotten enough money to provide 7 libraries, books for 7 libraries. And Randy Best said, Deborah, that's pretty good, 7 libraries, that's pretty good. But I think we can do better. How about if we do 100 more libraries? And I almost fell out of my chair. I just shook my head and said, yes, okay. So I am so thrilled. Randy cannot be here, but his wife, who is his partner in giving from the heart all over the world, she is here today to greet you and to receive a Johannesburg welcome from all of us who are so very grateful for their generosity. Would you join me in welcoming to the fore Mrs. Nancy Best?
Thank you, Deborah. She's a tough act to follow. I'm just sorry Randy's not here with me today. This is a real dream of ours. We both believe that literacy is the basis for everything and for everyone. And this morning we heard 4 young people speak at one of the schools on what reading means to them and what literacy means to them. And I wish you all could have heard it with us. It touched our hearts to know that when a child reads, the world is open to them. Everything is possible. And without books and without learning, we're holding them back. So many dreams and possibilities can't be there for them. So along with the UN Millennium Goals that we heard about this morning or this afternoon, that all children deserve the right to be able to read, the right to be literate. I'm just thrilled to see the books, to know that they're going to be in your hands, that you can read them, that you can learn, that you can have the world open to you. And I just thank you for being here, for giving us this opportunity to be with you. Thank you.
Professor Joel Shannon from Harvard University, Mrs. Nancy Best from the Nancy Best Foundation, Professor Luke, and all the staff members of UJ, our principals, and of course our most important guests, the learners. Ladies and gentlemen, if I don't mention your name, it's not because I hate you all, I'm angry with you. I love you all. The MEC for Education, Ms. Barbara Creasy, would have loved to be with us today, but due to other commitments, she couldn't. I want to assure you that had we made it last year, I had been able to twist her arm, and she was certainly going to be with us. And unfortunately, this time I couldn't. But I want to tell you that her heart is with us. Be rest assured of that. The Ashanti of Ghana believe that it takes a village to raise a child. And as the Gauteng Department of Education, we have made that our motto. That is why out of our 4 strategic goals, one of them is strengthening partnership with society, all in the interest of making sure that when our learners leave our institutions, they are fully equipped to meet all the challenges that they can come across in the community and in life. For that very reason, we want to thank you heartily for the support that you are giving us. Thank you. I can assure you, because of this partnership, thank you, Harvard. Thank you, UJ. 2 years ago, this district in particular had been written off. When you talked about Johannesburg Central in particular, people would, look the other side. We had been written off. No one believed that we could do well. But let me tell you who we are now. As the Gauteng Department of Education, we are at 87%. Yes, we are position 3 countrywide, but we are still the forerunners, because with the number of bachelors, we are still top. And let me tell you why the Gauteng Department of Education has made it. It is because of this region. Because in the whole province, we are top as far as the bachelor passes are concerned. Bachelor passes, it means that it's those learners, those candidates whose results enable them to proceed to university and degree studies. So we're top. Give yourselves a big round of applause. And thank you for the contribution. We are under no illusion about our capacity to make it or our wisdom. It's through your support, and we appreciate that. I want to be brief. In our region, the lowest district, it's 84.6%. 84.6%. Isn't it great? Thank you for your support. We know that if you give us anything or money, anybody can steal that. But what you give us, and you do it in a form of a book, nobody can steal that. In fact, they won't even know that in those books there is gold and there is diamond. And we thank you. In Africa, more especially in South Africa, we believe that what you give to us today will make it possible for you to get more. But we are not selfish. We are not saying that continue to give to us. We are saying do unto others what you have done to us and for us. And I thank you. And I thank you. And I thank you.
I was with you this morning, Deborah, at the school, and I just want to share with you, ladies and gentlemen, about the impact that the donation that we received from Nancy has made on our school. I'll try to be brief so that I don't waste your time. Allow me to quote from our late icon, President Mandela: "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Reading books in retrospect can change the world." A culture of reading at our school is spreading like a bonfire. Thank you, Dr. Deborah, for getting us the sponsorship for the library books. This is indeed, something that everyone in the school community is excited about. This morning you witnessed that your efforts were not in vain. A seed has been planted and the fruit will be there for everyone to see. A vibrant reading, actually there's vibrant reading that is existing in the school. A healthy, competitive spirit of reading more books in a week, in a fortnight, in a month prevails amongst our learners. What I like is the feedback aspect of it, where the quality in terms of knowledge and thinking processes actually supersedes the quantity of the books that were read. We have retired teachers who volunteer their service once a week with regard to reading. This has actually led to our learners being more assertive. Our grade 9 honor results in English first additional language have improved due to the donation. Our learners have cultivated a habit of reading, searching, inquiring, and debating issues. Hence, public speaking and debating events have become really exciting through this culture of reading. We don't have qualms with difficult conversations anymore, since our learners have actually got emancipated through reading. Our learners' aesthetic aspect or modality has actually been enhanced by reading of the books. They participate in almost all activities relating to sports, arts and culture, and so on. Please allow me to share with you some of my learners' quotes. They wrote me some quotes and I'll quickly read the snippets. Every child, that is a learner called Lesego, says, every child believes that education is a key to success, but education starts with a simple book. This is a quotation by Lesego. There's another learner who also said, Zolega wrote here, without a library, children are stripped of the chance to be part of a bigger world consisting of great leaders and influential people. Another read is from another learner who says, a library is a place full of wonder, knowledge, stories, theory, facts and opinions carried by the books. There's this other quotation also from another learner. Books sophisticate our minds and grow the educational value of our country and future. And the last one is from this learner who wrote to me and said, our school is like a learner who studies with a candlelight. Just imagine if we use a light bulb, how it will be like. In conclusion, I just want to thank you heartily that I see that the donations, the other time in 2012, I think were very few schools, but this time around, it's more and more, and thanks for the philanthropic gesture. Thank you.
Professor Sharon, Nancy Best, Professor Luke and the team, Chief Director Most, our District Director, Mrs. Siaga, all protocols observed, colleagues, girls and boys. From time immemorial, books have been and will always be a source of information. Young children, as you all know that I come from a private school, need to be taught to love books at a young age so that they may grow to love reading. When they love reading, they will be successful in their education. That is my belief. Reading is the basis of everything. For everything is centered around reading. They also need to be taught to take care of books, because it is of no use if you give a person a book and 2 days down the line that book is dilapidated. So from grade R, because as you know, we need to teach them, catch them young, and they are sure that you have invested. This must be taught particularly in the foundation phase. Reading is a skill, as I did say that in the morning. And once you learn that skill, nobody can take that from you. And my belief is that books take you places. One is never lonely. I'm talking to you girls and boys. One is never lonely. You find a person, oh, okay, thank you, ma'am. You know, we were born before technology. The BBTs, yeah. So you find a person saying to you, you know, I am so lonely. And when you go in there, unfortunately there are books. So when you have books, girls and boys, you will never be lonely. As you see, we have professors here, and I'm humbled to be part and parcel. Sorry about that. And I'm humbled by the invite. I'm humbled by such honored and distinguished guests, you know, coming to the school in the morning. You know, I didn't even know what to say when I director. I didn't know. In fact, I was speechless because they sat me down and they wanted to find out from me, what will these books do to my learners? Unfortunately, the school that I've inherited last year, it's a very old school. But when I got there, I was discouraged at one stage, but at the same time, not being discouraged as such. But I was shocked to find that in 1958 year, it's 55 years. I think this year the school will be 56 years. Only to find that there are no reading books. And then how do you take the school forward if there were no reading books? And I saw this wonderful gesture where they said you must write an essay and motivate why you would love your school to receive the books. Then I started writing. And I was calling Johanna. Johanna, when are these people responding? Because at the same time, time is going forward and I'm not receiving any books. So to me, this will it will add somewhere because, you know, if you don't have reading books, you know, with us, with a small role, ma'am knows, and I'm happy that the chief director is here. You guys give us, it's like I can simply say, I'm sorry, please beat me after. You give us a stipend because our role is little. And you can stretch it so far. But with such an initiative, really we will be in a position to say, as they say, we see the results of foundation phase in grade 12. When these kids, when foundation has been laid solidly, come grade 12, I'm definitely sure whatever that was taught in grade 1, that skill they can take it further. So going on, when they love reading, they will succeed in their education. Oh, I've done that. I'm sorry about that. Eh? Thank you, Miss Nancy, and everybody who was at the school for this donation, and all the people who have made this possible. The sponsor will help me to realize my dream, whereby I see all learners in my school being active readers. I hope these children will embrace this good gesture because a gift of books is immeasurable, and this very gift is for a lifetime. So in closing, I can simply say we have already started with whereby we ring a siren and it's drop all and read. And I love ringing the siren when I direct. When I ring it in a certain way, they know it's drop all and read. Irrespective that you are doing maths, but you need it for that time. Just to read 10 minutes of your time, it makes a difference. Thank you so much.